It's that time of year when it's time to take off honey supers or start getting ready for it. So I thought I'd make a quick video about what that looks like for me, how I go about taking off the honey that's ready to be extracted. I've been cleaning up the shop, getting ready for extraction, and so I'm ready to start taking some boxes off these hives. And before I get right into it, I just want to say pretty much everything I do in this video today is going to be personal preference. So I've actually been trying hard not to make this channel into a how-to channel about how to do everything with beekeeping. More of just how do I do it, why do I do it, why it works for me. And so yeah, it's just another perspective for you guys to have a look at and get your own ideas about how you want to do some things. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to tear into one of these hives and start seeing what's ready to remove and what needs to stay. And if you remember the last video I did, I actually added this fourth super to this hive. So there's quite a few hives in this yard that are pretty tall and I'd like to get them down. I'm not going to take away all the honey that's here today, but I'm going to get started with it. So one thing that I always do with my beekeeping is I bottom super. As I add new supers to hives, they always go on the bottom. So this is my brood chamber, and I run a queen excluder right here, and then these are just honey supers. So this would have been the first honey super of the year, and then I add more and more, and this was the most recent honey super that I put on. Okay, so I'm going to take these down and we'll see what's full and what's not. Okay, the top honey super, my first one of the season, is definitely full. And the second one right below it, this one's full too. Okay, then that medium depth honey super, which was my third one I added of the season. It's quite full. Okay, so I got this all apart. I set the less full supers here, the really full supers over there, and everything looks good. Everything looks good down in the brood chamber. So this is an opportunity to check that again, as you always should be when you're going into your hives. Okay, let me show you some of these that the bees are just working on now. So there's a lot of empty space in these frames, and the bees are just putting some honey in here now, but it's still open. Like they haven't sealed off any of this honey. The same thing over here. It's just open honey. There's definitely honey in there, as you can see. But this honey's not ready to take away. Compared to these frames. So this honey is ready to take away because this is a wax capping that they've put over all the honey, with honey underneath it. Okay. So there's a big difference between the honey that's stored under these cappings and the honey that's still being processed in the open cells. This honey will be at the right moisture content to take away and extract. When the bees bring in nectar from the flowers, it has quite a high moisture content, and they have to dry it down so that it's well preserved. And then they seal it on these cappings. So these boxes that I'm going to take away, the two that were on top, are totally full of fully capped frames. That's perfect. I would even take them away if they were about 2/3, ideally more like 3/4 capped with the wax capping over it. And there may be still some open cells, but some is okay as it all gets mixed together when we extract. But this is definitely good to go. So because I take away full boxes, entire boxes of honey away at a time rather than taking it frame by frame or something else like that, this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment for getting that job done. And this is called a bee escape. And specifically with this triangle design, it's the Quebec-style bee escape. And it works as a board that you slide between boxes, and it allows bees to move down out of boxes up above through this hole, and they come out through the corners of the maze, down through the hive, and they can't find their way back up. So for me, the way I manage my hives, this piece of equipment works really well for getting bees out of a lot of boxes relatively quickly, and I think it's really easy on the bees too, because it just happens passively over the course of 2 or 3 days. So I'm going to put some of these on these hives here today, and then I'll come back in 2 or 3 days, and the boxes up above the escape will be totally empty, and they'll be ready for me to take away and extract. Okay, empty boxes down below. Then my bee escape with the triangle side down. Okay, then the full box is on top. So as you can see, working by myself, that's about as high as I like to let these hives get before I start pulling off honey. Okay, so with the bee escape system, I think there's one other tool that is really necessary in this situation, and that's tape. So what happens as the bees move out of these full supers that I want to take away, down through the escape and into the ones that they still have to work on, these become empty, and if there's any holes for bees to get into these top boxes, they'll find them and they'll rob them out. So other hives, or even the bees from this own hive, will find ways to get in here, steal this honey, and take it away. So we want to make sure that there's no upper entrance at all, and no cracks or anything in your equipment where bees can squeeze in. I'm pretty satisfied with this wooden inner cover, but if you're worried at all, I recommend some masking tape and seal off any cracks. Because I mentioned that I bottom super all my hives, I could have actually done that first colony a little bit faster, and I'll show you with this one. So in this case, this is my early season honey, the first super that I put on, and this is the most recent super that I put on. And one of my goals with taking off some honey now is to keep the early season honey separate from our later season honey, because where I am, we typically get nice, like white, lighter honey earlier in the year, and we get darker, more golden colored honeys later, starting now and into September. So I'm going to keep the light honey separate, and I know that's all going to be up in the top boxes, so I could just come by and slide a bee escape right in here, and then when I come back in 2 or 3 days, I can check my brood chamber at that time. So for today I can just take off 1 or 2 boxes off the top, slide in the escape, and move on. It can happen pretty quickly. So that's that's the main thing I wanted to talk about, just bee escapes and why I think they're so great and why they work for me. And if you take off entire boxes at a time when you're harvesting honey, I think they could work well for you too, but everyone has their own system and you learn to work with what you've got. And if you're smaller than that and you just take honey away kind of frame by frame throughout the season, then they're probably not the right tool for you. Okay, so thanks again for watching. If you stuck around till the end, thank you very much. And check out my other videos and subscribe if you liked it.